Hello everyone, this is Mike, WB8VG, and today we're going to assemble the Heathkit Shop AC4r. Now, as you can see, we have the printed circuit board mounted in a holder. And what we're going to do first is install R4, which is a 150K 3-watt resistor. Doesn't make any difference which side it goes into, but we're going to start with the banded end, the gold band up to the top. Now I have a little piece of circuit board here that I made that will hold that resistor just above the board, because that little guy does get somewhat hot. And we'll solder it in on the top, come over here, solder that side in, pull the board up. Next up is R7, which is the 10-watt 100 ohm resistor. That goes in here.
Probably sand in them. You also notice on the edge, it's got a little groove where the lead comes out. Now, when you bend that to mount the resistor, bend it toward the groove, like that. There you go. That way, it will be less stress on the leads, and it'll make for a real nice, neat installation.
10-watt 100 ohm resistor. That goes in here. And once more, that gets a little hot, so we're going to give it some room to let the heat out, and we're going to solder it on the top as well. Okay, and on this side. All right. Now then, what we're going to do, turn this around a little bit. We have 150K resistors going in, R1 and R2. Again, we're going to use my little spacer. I used to put these in the kits, but it caused too much confusion. Because after you got done using it for a spacer, you could use one side of the PC board to make a field strength meter, or you could flip it around and use it as a code practice oscillator. Trouble is, most people got confused and said, what was that circuit board doing in my kit? I don't understand what it's doing. So after the first 100 or so, I decided not to do it. Notice I'm going to put the banded in the same direction as the other resistor. There's absolutely no reason for it, other than the fact it makes everything kind of look nice. And we'll hit that up right there. And nail this one. There you go. All right, now we pull our spacer board out. And tight. There's our two resistors. Notice the bands are going the same direction. Bands going up. We had some nice space between them. And what we'll do now, just get the leads off. All righty. Now what I like to do next, put the board back in the holder, is install the diodes. And for that, I use good old-fashioned needle nose. And you're probably thinking, what in the world is this guy doing with needle nose pliers and diodes? Well, tell you what, grab your diode, hold your resistor, or hold the diode like so, bend the leads down. That makes for a nice square bend. And you just put that in. Look at that. Just drops in beautifully. And you do that with all the rest of the resistors. Now, I haven't mentioned it, but the banded end of the diode has to match the banded end on the circuit board. If it don't, it won't work. So, bend the leads as sharp as you can. Put in D7, that is for the bias circuit. Look at that, just goes in there just perfect. And now all we have to do now is do the resistors or the diodes rather, for the high voltage and low voltage. Get that one in there, band it in to band it in, boom. And we'll do another one. I've been doing this for so long that I know just about where to put the needle nose tip so I get the right bend. You might have to do a couple times to figure it out. It's no big deal. If you get too much of a space, just straighten it up, try it again. Life goes on. Put that one in. Look at that. And finally the last one. It. Yeah. Drop that in there. Double, triple check all your diodes. Make sure you have them correctly. And then what we're going to do, hold those down, your finger, turn around, and bend them back. That keeps them from falling out. Keeps them tight up against it. So we have all the resistor or diode leads. I don't know why I keep calling those resistors. Old age. And we put it back in the clamp. And now we can solder those beasts up. You want to heat the joint, not the solder. I'll flip this around here so you can see it. Heat the joint, not the solder. Clean that tip off a little bit. It's growing hair. And right there. See how it just wets in? Well, I get that one in the corner. Do the top. All right. All we have to do now is clip off the diode leads. Take two off at a time. Oh, something else I should say. So notice how the leads just kind of, I cut these, how the leads just kind of get mushy. They don't really do anything. This nipper needs to be replaced. Normally, if you have real sharp nippers, they should be able to throw those leads halfway across the room. When they get mushy like that, they're dull. All right, straighten everything up. Now then, what we have to do next, put this back in the holder. Add the two small resistors. Now, notice the banded gold edge. There again, you don't have to, but why not? That one's going up, this one's pointing up. So we'll put that 10K resistor in. So the banded edge is going up. Same thing with this one, 6.8K. Banded in, the gold in, I should say, point up. Hold the parts. Give them a squeeze. I'm going to lay that on the tabletop. Done. Now then, the only thing we need to do now is put the capacitors in. But before we do that, check our work. resistors. Diodes all matched the way they're supposed to. So let's put some capacitors in. We're going to start with the shortest guys, which are these 47 microfarad. The positive lead of a capacitor is the longest lead. The negative lead, for some strange reason, is always marked, but the positive is not. So negative lead opposite the positive lead on the pad, and the longest lead goes into the positive pad. So long lead in the positive hole, and positive hole, positive lead, long leg goes in like that. Now what I do, I set them down on my tabletop. Get it out of here. Press down on the circuit board with the soldering iron and solder them in. Just like that. We'll check to make sure the negative lead is pointing down. And we'll nip those little buggers off. Next up, the big snapping capacitors. Same thing. Negative lead points to the negative symbol. Positive, negative goes down. Negative goes down. You may have noticed that I don't use the very tip of my soldering iron when soldering these. I go up about 1/4 of an inch. That's because there's more mass up there for the tip on these big lugs. Just look at that. Hold them. That solder just flows in there like water. I gotta quit smoking. Okay, next thing up, we'll put this capacitors into the screen. Same drill as before. Negative lead goes down, positive lead, the long hole, long lead and a positive. There's one. There's two. And number 3. Kind of get them so they're standing up a little bit, hold them in place. I just flip them over, give them a good wiggle, hold them down. Now what I do with these, I solder just one wire in, because I'm doing 3 at a time. I want to make sure that they're flat and have the right polarity. When I'm satisfied, I'll go back. Solder it in. Solder it in. And then clip it off. And that is an assembled Drake AC4r. Next video, we'll put one inside a Drake AC4 power supply. You also know you have one blank resistor, R3. R3 isn't used in 90% of the kits that have come. If it is used, it'd be a 200 ohm 5 watt resistor, and then R7 would be a 200 ohm 5 watt resistor. Together, in parallel, there are 100 ohms at 10 watts. Either one will work. These just happen to be a little bit quicker to assemble. One way to check to make sure that you have the AC4r assembled correctly is to look at the electrolytic capacitors. All the negative leads point the same way, which is toward the bottom edge of this board. Well, I hope that was enjoyable. I hope you could see what I was doing.
This is one of my first time videos, so God only knows how this is going to come out. I got a voice for CW, and I got a face for radio. So, anyway, next time we meet, we're going to take this printed circuit board, and we will put it into an AC4r. Hopefully, I can find one around here that needs replacement. Most of them have already been done. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed the video. As I always say, like, share, whatever the world that's supposed to do. And we'll see you again soon. I'm Mike, WB8VG from the Heathkit shop.